All right, welcome back to the Infinite Agent Podcast. Today we are running this live. Jonathan Cook is out somewhere floating in the middle of the ocean. Brooke Summers out somewhere in the middle of the woods. And so you've got myself, Jason Breitenstein. We've got Chad Smith, who you all know and love. And today we've got Miguel Escobedo joining us. So Miguel, Miguel, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Man, put me on the spot. Jason, so I've been in real estate for 7 years. I've been part of the Real Solution for about almost 3 years.
Yeah, I think that's
almost
right.
3 years. And man, I've seen my life change completely. My business, I was just hitting six figures and I was stuck there, and I joined the Real Solution with Chad. And from there, my business just doubled. And now, last year I made over 500K. This year we're going over that. And I'm building a team right now. Got married this year, and man, I'm living an amazing life with an amazing company that I'm a part of. Great leaders that we have here in this company, and also great people here in this podcast studio. So I appreciate you guys inviting me out.
Yeah. So your business has actually doubled more than once, correct?
Yeah, doubled twice, and now it's getting a bit harder to double now because there's just bigger numbers. And but we are definitely aiming to double. I always have big goals, and we're just getting started.
Big goals, lots of work ethic. That's awesome.
Man, I just love to, I have a vision for my life, and I'm just hungry every single day. I see it and I want it, and I believe God for it. And I believe God has bigger plans for myself that even I think I have, and so I'm just working the plan.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Big shout out to Jonathan Cook, who is coming live from the Atlantic Ocean.
Oh, yeah.
We miss you, bro.
I wish I was there. It was nice. It looks nice.
Yeah, thanks for the invite.
Yeah, thanks for
So today we're going to be talking about the three biggest mistakes when creating or forming a team. So Chad, why don't you jump off and just kind of start us out on this topic?
Okay. All right. So building a team, we started talking about this topic last week. And if you're into YouTube and you like thumbnails, they always talk about the things to avoid. So we came up with the three biggest things that you want to avoid, the biggest mistakes you make when building a team. Number one has got to be no vision. So if you're attempting to build a team and your value proposition is come join my team because I've got low splits, right? You get to keep a lot of your commissions. Come join my team. Or, we party hard over here. That's not going to last, right? So the vision, my take on this is that when a leader can communicate a compelling vision that's bigger than just selling houses, they can attract someone based on a belief system. And someone can join because they believe in something that's bigger than just real estate. And so that's number one, no vision. The number one mistake is they cannot create a compelling vision that someone else would want to be a part of. Number two, that we can go through all these here in a little bit. Number two is maybe you have a big vision, but you're going to fail if you don't have standards. So number one, no vision. Number two, no or low standards, right? Because somebody's got to kick the work in after you have the big vision party, right? And then the final one, number three, is low capacity. So
Low C.
There we go. So no vision, no standards, and then finally low capacity. What do I mean by that? If you're the leader, one of my mentors used to say, speed of the leader, speed of the pack. Okay, so if you're the leader and you're not growing, if you're the leader and you're not paying the price to break through your personal ceilings of achievement, and you're not working in to fill in the gaps in your business, how could you ever expect someone else to come join your vision, operate at a high capacity, and fight through all the challenges of business alongside you if you yourself have a low capacity?
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely. So let's start off with number one, no vision. This is something, no vision or having a vision is something that's really, really stands out when we're talking about the Chad Smith team. So it's no secret I've been with Chad for going on 13 years.
Right.
And vision is a big part of why I'm still here. I'm going to go off topic for just a second, but I've been asked too many times in my career, why are you still with Chad? Why are you still there? You know enough. Why haven't you gone out and built a team on your own and done this on your own? The vision is actually what has kept me here. So if you don't have a big enough vision, you're not going to retain talent. Talent's going to leave, and they're going to go chase their own dreams, their own vision. Chad, why don't you tell us a little bit about what your vision is and what the team's vision is?
Yeah, so everyone that's watching this, what Jason just brought up is something that only Jason could share, or Brooks could share, or Lana and Annette could share. It's one thing for me to talk about the vision, but for you, having been repeatedly asked, why are you still there? Why don't you just go off on your own? That cross-validation of you saying, here's why, because we're building something that's bigger than just ourselves. Chad's vision is big enough that we could all get what we wanted and dream within the vision. So my idea of having a vision for business is something that's why it's called the Infinite Agent Podcast. It's an infinite goal. It's bigger than just let's make this much in GCI. Let's be number one. Let's be number one in our market. Let's beat our closest competitor. Any of those types of finite goals, they could be achieved, but what happens is they end up leaving a void inside your heart. And so for me, my vision, the way that I cast it to the team, is that I never made any money just kind of the world's way. My vision is to fulfill my destiny in Christ. And so I crossed this mental threshold back in 2007 where I decided I'm going to stop working for a living and I'm going to start working for a giving. And so I base my vision on how much money I can give away. If I give away more money every year of my life, then the natural byproduct will be that I'm left with more than enough than I would ever need. Well, if my baseline is giving, then I'm going to be a giver financially. I'm going to be a giver in the way that I lead the team. I'm a giver towards you. I'm a giver towards Brooks, towards Lana, towards Annette, towards Ron, towards David, towards Kenneth, towards Connor. I lead with giving. And if I do that and I never limit you and my vision keeps growing, then why would we ever have to stop going forward together? Yeah. And so that's kind of what vision is to me. Okay, we're in agreement. We believe in these same things. We want to give into these other types of organizations and these other types of just causes that mean as much to us as anything. And if we commit to that together, and then we operate according to standards, then why not build together for our entire career?
Yeah, this is a huge aspect, and this may be a lot for some of you to take on. Shout out to Realty of America for being on. Love you guys. Jose Torres, welcome to the podcast. So when we're talking about a vision that is bigger than yourself, bigger than any one person, this is something that you actually, what your vision is, you never actually achieve it. So your goal is to give as much money away into the gospel, into the church as you humanly can, right? You're never going to achieve that. One of the biggest mistakes that teams have is that their vision is something that is reachable and attainable. And we're going to see this like, I want to be the number one team in an X brokerage, or I want to be the number one team in Dallas-Fort Worth, or the number one team in America, or whatever that is. Once you reach that goal, once you hit that vision, it's over with. We've witnessed, Chad and I have witnessed brokerages crumble because their goal was attainable. Their goal was to be the number one brokerage in
the world.
In the world. And we were a part of a brokerage that actually attained that. And once they hit it, everybody stood around and said, okay, now what? Now what?
They never found another mountain.
There was never another mountain to climb. They reached the top of one mountain. There's not another mountain to climb. But you built your vision on a mountain that has no top. There is no reachable. So you're always striving to achieve more and more and more. And it's not simply tied to you. It's not simply tied to me. But this is something that is much bigger than both of us. And there's a lot to be said for why agents stick around into that vision.
You know, and let me hit on this. Whenever I actually, like going back when I met you and I re-met you in Salt Lake, right? It was you had the event.
Yes.
And so basically I went in there because I needed help, right? And but I went out and I decided to join and reach out to you based off what you said and how your vision was before I even met you at that point, because your vision was to become the person that I met that day.
Yes.
And so I was like, man, this guy built his family. You know, his wife stays, you know, basically a stay-home mom. They have a custom built home on, you know, acreage, and he has this team. And I see the team. I saw Jason, I saw Brooks, well, like wearing suits. I'm like, you know, I thought I wanted somebody to help me with real estate, but I really wanted somebody to help me with everything, right? And so I think vision is very important. It's one of the most important. And I think one thing that you mentioned is that if your vision is big enough, you know, where somebody else's vision can fit in, then that's key. And so I think I think you've done that, you know, for pretty much myself too. You know, the vision is still keep going. It's an infinite agent. It's infinite vision that we have here.
Yeah, it's really well said, guys. So we've got a great question.
Yeah,
that just
we have,
popped up here.
and I think this actually is going to fall right in line with step number 2 or
Mistake number two,
mistake
right?
number 2 as to how to not grow a team.
Right. So how do you protect your culture as you grow? So the answer to that is you have to solidify what the vision is and what the culture is. And what I mean by that is we have a tool that we created in the Real Solution where you can carve into stone, you can etch out what the vision is, you can write it out, you can have a spiritual and a tactical vision, mission, and purpose. And then you create core values. Mm-hmm. So we have 8 core values on our team and within the Real Solution. And they are not posters that sit on a wall. These are the predefined way that we all agree to treat each other and to treat others and to show up on a daily basis. And Jason can attest to this. The only time you'll see me violently defend the environment is if one of those core values is violated. And as long as the core values are being lived out in real life, the organization moves forward. The moment, I say this all the time, the moment that I'm unwilling to defend the core values, the moment I'm unwilling to say what needs to be said in order to uphold the mission, vision, values, and purpose is the moment that it would all die. And to me, that's a big part of leadership. Yeah.
100%. And I think it's important to talk about these core values. And I'm not going to go through each one and talk about what we stand for, but I am going to talk about how we came to create those core values. And so we sat down with the team and we whiteboarded out, brainstorming everything that we wanted to be considered as one of our core values. And then we had to narrow that down. And basically what Chad and I and Brooks talked about was we don't want anything to be on this that we strive to be. Core values should not be something that we hope to be, we strive to be, we want to be. They have to be something that we are, and we are adamant that we are. And so we narrowed these down to the 8, and we live by those. And everybody that comes into our organization, everybody that comes into our culture knows exactly what these values are, these core values. They're on our wall. We talk about them on a daily basis. And so everybody in there knows that this is, if you want to be in this culture, if you want to be in this environment, this is who we are, and we never, ever violate that. And I think that's a big part of how we keep our culture strong, and we never let that fail.
So let's talk about this for a little bit longer, because the core values, why did we come up with those? The leader has got to have a compelling vision, right? This is what we started this hour with. Well, The vision has to be so big that wonderful, talented, high capacity people would want to come join in and build alongside you. Okay. Well, the reason we developed the core values is I fully intended for this to continue to grow and grow and grow and grow for years and decades, and to be a lifelong journey. So the reason we have those 8 core values is I said to myself, what do I have to do to protect those core values so that I would never be held hostage to the business, and I would never have to show up someday and feel like everything I stood for had been robbed.
Yeah.
And so the core values they're not aspirational, like you said, Jason. This is who we are, right? And so let's see what this next question.
So how would you delegate and build trust within your circle environment business? Chad, do you want to jump on that one?
Yeah, part of it is it takes time. None of what we're talking about today happens fast.
No.
I've always wanted to go fast, and the best things that have happened to us never happened as quickly as I had wanted. So the core values get established, and you walk them out on a daily basis. I'll say this: how do you build trust? How do you delegate and empower? Step by step, and leadership is, in a way, you have to be very courageous, and sometimes you have to violently defend this. I mean, we've asked people to leave before, and we wish them all well, but it's kind of like think about like a ball game, like a playoff game. Pick your favorite sport. There's always a critical point in the game, right? And the leader, the winner, they really show who they are in that moment. That's how you defend core values. There will come moments where people will test you to see if you truly believe in the core values that you put on a piece of paper or you put on the wall. And so what are you going to do in that moment? And then how do you build and delegate? You see who shows up in the critical moments, and they stand and defend the environment and the culture and the core values as if they owned the company. That we could get into that. I'm looking for someone that operates in a spirit of excellence as if they owned it. When I served at the brokerage we were at for 17 years, I gave into that environment like I owned it, and I didn't own it. And I'm looking for people like that. That's who I want to delegate to. Jason's helped me this week. Brooks has been out of town resting, well-deserved rest, and he helped me this morning, right? Miguel, you've helped me a ton. Jonathan has helped me a ton. Brooks has helped me a ton, as if it were theirs. Well, in order to have that in my organization, I have to be that first. I say that to people a lot. People that have come and gone, I ask them a question. How could you expect someone to stay with you on the long run until you're willing to stay with someone for the long run? Right?
In order to be a good leader, you have to first be a follower, a good follower of good leaders.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So we got another question. Summer said, how do you know when it's time to hire or fire? Well, that's a great question. I'll jump on this one.
Okay.
So first and foremost, I don't like to fire people, but I'm not afraid to fire people. And it goes back to those core values. When we establish who we are at our core, that's the line. I'm giving grace often until you break those core values. When you are unwilling to live by those core values and respect the culture, respect the environment, it's time to go. It's time to break those ties. How do you know when it's time to hire? This is a great one, Chad. How do you know when someone's talent or when they're not talent?
Okay, before we get to talent versus non-talent, let's tie how do you know when to hire into capacity?
Okay.
Because I've seen a lot of folks and they say, "Hey, I want to build a team." I can give you a specific example. I had a guy who came to me. He said, "I want you to coach me." I said, "Okay, great." He said, "What do I need to do first?" And I said, "Build the skill, the personal capacity to be the most dominant listing agent in your in your market.
So essentially, go create enough business that you have no choice but to hire agents.
Yeah, and as a realtor, if you're going to build a long-term business, you've got to become proficient as a listing agent. So that was his first step that I gave him. He came back 1 week later and he said, I hired 4 buyer's agents. What do I do next? And I said, go become the number 1 listing agent in your market. And then he never showed up again. Okay. Right. And so the reason that you hire is because you have increased your own capacity so high that you've broken all of your systems and the business is demanding that you hire. If you're starting a team for any other reason, I'm concerned for you.
Yeah.
Right? You earn the right to get into business with talent by breaking out of the mold that you're in and creating so much business. I tell the team all the time, I listed 28 homes in 1 month as an individual agent. And the one operations person that I had was crying, right? And then I got into business with Brooks and then Jason. And we ended up having 5 to 8 other people lead generating before I ever stopped lead generating. Once there were about 8 people making calls and doing all the follow-up every day, I went, okay.
But it wasn't just having 5 to 8 people making calls. It was having 5 to 8 people making the right calls the right way, setting the right appointments.
That had actually were achieving the capacity or breaking the capacity that I had created for myself. Correct. So that's a really important thing for how do I know when it's time to hire? And then the short answer for fire is if they violate the core values, right? If they've shown that they are unwilling to operate according to the core values, then I wish every person that's ever been on our team well, that's no longer on the team. So it's not that they're bad or anything like that. We wish them well, but they may not be the right fit. And so obviously it's a hard stop if they lie to me, right? Or if they cheat. Steal. We've had a couple of those instances over the years, but by and large, it's them deciding whether or not they want to operate at under our core values and according to our standards.
Right.
Right.
And I would say when it comes to when to hire, don't make the mistake of adding bodies just to add bodies.
Right.
Wait, do the right thing, follow the right steps, find talent. When somebody comes in that is going to up the game and raise the bar and make everyone else better by simply being there, that's when you hire someone.
Yes.
And I would say another thing is a lot of people, like you said, they start too fast and they onboard too many people at once that they don't have an actual process to onboard anybody or no training, no type of guidelines. And so that's one thing that I experienced. Like I learned that in the hard way, basically I onboarded too many people at once, didn't have an actual process to do that. And, basically I had to it took months, if not a year, to basically get everybody where they needed to be at. And now I'm like, all right, so now I have an onboarding process. I spoke to you. I spoke to a lot of people in the Real Solution. Ryan, I'm like, what do you do? I'm trying to get nuggets from everybody. And so having an onboarding process is going to be very important. And also generating so many leads that you don't have any idea what to do with them. And that's a position that I was in. I was just generating so many leads that I couldn't handle them all. And so that's when I decided to create a team. But there's so many steps to it. If you miss one step, it's just going to put you back 2 steps. And
you've got to know what the cost of a bad hire really is for your business.
That's true.
Because it's not simply that, I made a mistake. I hired the wrong person. I fired the wrong person. No, there's cost associated with that. There's damage to your business. There's damage to your time. And you've got to know what those numbers really look like.
And running a team is not cheap. It's very expensive. The systems and then the time, a lot of time that you spend with new realtors. And so it's very important if you're going to create a team that you have what you mentioned, that you have the steps and you follow them correctly.
100%. All right. Anybody else on Facebook or on YouTube have any other questions? We can definitely chime in on that.
Yeah. While we're waiting on some questions to come in, I want to say one thing about capacity. So there's a level of capacity that you need to have in order to start growing a team. There's also a level of capacity you need to maintain a team. And so Chad has done really, really good at this because even after Chad got to the point of stepping out of the day-to-day business, Chad, how many listing appointments do you go on a year?
5.
Maybe 5. The rest of them are team things. The buyers are handled by the team. But what do you spend your time doing every day?
Enlarging the vision, building a bigger world so that all the wonderful people that have said yes to the vision can all continue to grow together.
Right. Chad spends his day finding ways for everybody inside of his world to succeed, to thrive. And so you've got to have the capacity, once you get to that point, you've got to find the ways for your people to succeed.
Yeah, it's an interdependent relationship, right? You can get on the wrong side of it if you're sitting there talking to the people in the organization saying, hey, we got to get you up to the next level. We got to help you level up and get to the next level. That's actually a sign that you as the leader are trying to take them where they don't want to go. And that's a source of major frustration.
Yeah.
On the other side of that, if you have talent and you're not enlarging the vision, then they will see that you have low capacity and low standards, and they will leave. And so the sweet spot is that I'm spending time every week growing myself, looking forward, looking around the corner in the industry and in business and in the economy, and studying and refining and growing. And then when I identify the racehorses that want to run alongside me, then I spend my time with them and I pour myself into them and I equip them and I create the environment that they can thrive in. That's how you keep going. And they have to know that I've got their back. And so talent has a high standard inside themselves. It's just who Miguel is. He said it when he got here. He just wakes up and he's inspired and he's changing his life. I've never one time had to ask Jason to work hard. It's just who Jason is. Brooks, one of the hardest working people you will ever come across. It's just who he is. I want to find more and more and more of those type of people and then work to equip and empower them. And then what I have found, especially post-COVID, is that the world got splintered off into little silos during the lockdowns. I want to find those wonderful people again that have the same type of core values and belief systems, and then let's all get together and let's build something amazing that we can build on for decades. That's really what I want my career to be about.
And Chad, I would say those people are looking for an environment like that. I was actively looking for something like the Real Solution.
Right.
And so those people are like, they're looking for a great team to be a part of, or a great organization, or a great company. And so, that's super important to build a great environment.
Yeah, so we've got another question here, but before we get to that, I want to throw one more thing in on kind of this topic of, why does talent stick around, right? And again, kind of the thought process of why have Brooks and I stayed and never left and never tried to go grow our own team? Your world, if you want to retain talent long term, your world has to be big enough for their visions and their dreams as well. They have to be attracted to your big vision and agree with your standards. But if your world is so small that they can't grow enough, then you're going to lose them at some point. So Chad has done a really, really great job of creating such a big world that we live in that as long as I'm crushing my standards and I'm hitting my goals, and I come to Chad and I say, hey, I have a dream. I want to be blank. What are you going to say to me?
Let's go.
Let's go. You're going to help me create and find the opportunities to make that happen. If at any point, and Chad says this all the time, he will never become a limiting factor in any one of our lives, our businesses, or our successes. The minute a leader becomes a limiting factor, the game is over.
Right. What I see happen way more, I do think that there are all kinds of people that are in a leadership position that are threatened by talent. That's pretty common. All right. I have made a commitment to everyone in the Real Solution or even at our brokerage at Realty of America, I'm not threatened by other people's capacity. I love being around high capacity people. And so I have just made a decision that it's more fun to grow and to do things alongside high capacity people than it is to be threatened by them. It's easy for people to get divided, but to build something together, that's just, I've had a whole lot more fun doing it that way.
Yeah.
But then also, if you're in an environment and someone attempts to limit you, you're going to know that really quickly. But what I've seen in our world the most is folks who rebel against the standard.
Yeah.
And I love you all if you're watching. I love every one of you. But the ones that rebel against the standard and then say that they want to go out and do their own thing, they're going to have to start over and establish a new pattern, or else it'll never work.
Right. Or the ones that don't adhere to the standards, don't adhere to the lead generation metrics that we set as part of our standards, and then come up and go, hey, Chad, I need more opportunity. There's not enough opportunity here.
Right.
You know, there is, and I can't stress that enough, that if you want opportunity, you have to be the person that crushes what's in front of you. And then a good leader is going to open all the doors they possibly can on anything that you want to do. So, Chad, do you want to jump in on this? What systems and or culture item do you prioritize?
Sure. While we do that question's coming from YouTube. So just a reminder to everyone, if you're watching on YouTube or if you're watching on Facebook, run over to the YouTube channel and subscribe. It'll help us out a ton. I know that I think we added, was it 10 more subscribers last week?
10,000?
Yeah,
We're getting
10,000. There we go. Nice, Miguel. High capacity there. Nice. Okay, so let's do this. So the question is, what systems and or culture items do you prioritize? Let me just read these, okay? Here's our 8 core values. This will give you some insight on that, okay? So for us, our core values, the first one is Matthew 6:33, okay? Matthew 6:33, Jesus said, seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and then all the things that the world chases after will be added unto you. So for me, that was the most important core value. The second one, we call it uncommon honor. So I want to treat everyone with uncommon honor, meaning my elders, my mentors, my betters, my parents, my grandparents, those who came before me, my peers and the agents that I'm in business with, and then also the least of these. Maybe those who you would perceive could never be any type of a benefit for you in business. They're still human beings, and they were created in the image of God, and I want to treat them with uncommon honor. Okay, the next one is gratitude. Try to lead something without a state of gratitude. Let me know how it works out for you. So we choose gratitude because it's necessary for an environment to thrive. There are always things that can be broken, systems that need to improve, drama, markets, economies, elections, you name it. There's always things going on out there that I can't control, but I can control what I focus on and what I'm grateful for. Okay. The next one is the word arete, which is the Greek word for excellence. It also means the act of living up to one's potential. Now, this may really answer the question from YouTube. The next one, and this is kind of a system and a culture item, and it's habits and consistency are what lead to growth and opportunity. So this particular core value eradicates entitlement mentality, right? So if someone comes to me and says, hey, I want more opportunity, then I'll say, great. Let's do the right things and nail the standard on a daily basis and blow the lid off of your personal ceiling of achievement and consistently do the right things and show that you are growth minded and grow your personal production. And I'll give you whatever opportunity you're looking for.
Right.
And they're either going to be willing to do it or they're not. And so by having that as a core value, if someone violates that, they're in violation of the predetermined way that we said we operate in the organization. The next one is keep it real and extreme ownership. So before I go blame someone else, I'm going to keep it real with myself, and I'm going to look in the mirror on every situation that happens, and I'm going to ask myself, is there anything that I could have done differently? And I also, as a leader, I'm going to look in the mirror first, but then number two, if something's off, I'm not going to hide from it. As a leader, I cannot hide from the KPIs, the key performance metrics, the key performance indicators. The numbers always tell a story, and I cannot hide from the numbers. Sometimes that's easier than others. The next one is outrageous giving, right? We've already covered that today. I want to lead by being, if I just give more than anybody thinks is wise, if I'm more generous than people think is even wise to the Lord, if I'm more generous than people think is even wise to my wife and my children and to the teammates that I've been entrusted with and to my clients that I've been entrusted to serve and to help, how could I go wrong? How could I lose? And then the final core value that we have is think long term. We had a conversation about this on Tuesday, and that is rather than thinking like a 1 to 3 year business plan. People, if you have a 3-year goal in business, people think you're a long-term thinker. I want to think multi-decades, or even my subtopic below that is eternity is a long time.
Yeah.
Right? How is what I'm doing going to affect my eternal destination or the legacy that my children, my grandchildren, my great grandchildren see me? And those are the things, hopefully that answers your question on YouTube. What systems and or culture? It is kind of a system. It's a belief system.
It is, yeah.
And it's in it, and there are systems and processes in there and mindsets. And when it all comes together, like we know how we're supposed to show up on a daily basis. Would you guys agree with that?
Yeah, 100%. And we do this, I know Jonathan mentions this most of the time, but we do this every day, Monday through Friday, 8:30 in the morning till 9:15, where we're going through these types of trainings, and we end it with gratitude. And if any of you that are listening or watching right now, if you want to be a part of that, if you want to experience what those meetings are like in the mornings, reach out to me, Jason Breitenstein, Chad Smith, Miguel Escobedo, Jonathan Cook, Brooke Summer. Send one of us a message, a direct message on Instagram, Facebook. We'll gladly get you a link to join in and see what you think about that. So, yeah. And then Brian Certain, a great comment. Brian said, great leaders inspire greatness when you know their why. And so I think that's great. And then he said, you share your why all the time, talking about Chad, and then Jason Brooks and the team are providing the how.
Yeah. There's a great book called Who Not How, right? And you got to have the how, right? It can't just be vision casting every morning. Somebody's got to kick the doing in. That's why those 8 core values that we have has a balance of the practical and then also the why. But I want to get the why right. You know, we talked earlier about the finite goal. The general rule for real estate agents, your typical top producer makes an enemy out of number one. I saw this over and over my entire career. So they know that they've got it in them to be a top producer. And so they come into the market and they're like, hey, so-and-so, I'm coming for you. I'm gonna pass you up. I'm gonna take you out. Most of our career, before we became number one, we watched number 1 and 2. They always hated each other.
They did.
They always fought. There was always a major rivalry. They always hated each other. And then we were part of what ended up becoming the number 1 office in the world for the biggest brand, big box brand in the country. And then afterwards, it kind of, not right away, but it just never, it certainly didn't keep going on the same trajectory. If anything, it planed out and then eventually kind of died out. And so I spent a ton of time asking myself, okay, now this was an amazing run to go from having 65 agents in an office to eventually 600 and being the most profitable office in the world for that company. But how come it didn't stay? And so I don't want to have an enemy to be motivated. I don't want to have to beat Miguel Escobedo or Jonathan Cook to win. I want my motivation to be different, and that's where the why comes in. Here, let's see here. Taylor, I'm going to send you a picture. Is there any way you could share a picture?
100%.
Okay.
Is it a picture of me?
All right. Here we go.
You know, while you're pulling that up, people or agents that are wired to hate the other guy, to hate that agent that they're competing with, that's actually a lack mentality. And one of the things that we really work on is nobody's our competition. The only competition I have is myself and the amount of effort and work that I'm willing to put in on any given day.
Yeah, there was a day several years ago. You and I were walking into the real estate office, and there was another team, and we had always gotten along with them fine,
Yeah.
but we had become number one in the office. Out of over 600 agents, our team was number one, and they stopped talking to us. And I looked at you that day, and I said, Jason, don't they realize that we're not their competition? We're not in competition with them. And what was your response?
I said, they're not our competition, but I'm pretty sure we're theirs.
No, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So for everybody that's watching this either live or watches this on the replay, Brian said, I always talk about my why. Well, you're about to see why I always talk about what we're doing and why we're doing it, because I nearly died. I nearly died by the time I was 23. So that's a photograph of me at age 23. And I had just lost all hope. I didn't know what to do with my life. It just didn't seem worth it. I thought I had thrown my entire life away. I thought I had ruined my life. And so God rescued me from that place of darkness. And so the reason we do what we do every day is because we want people to know. It's what Miguel said right at the beginning. He knows that God has a plan for his life, and his plan is actually even bigger than he can ask, think, or imagine. And that's step one. And then step two is that once we come into agreement with that plan, then we have to do our part. And so we show up on a daily basis. We've done the math. It's about 300 times a year. We show up together and sharpen each other, hold each other accountable, encourage each other, correct each other when necessary, and make sure that we're all upholding those core values. And so long as we keep doing that together, who knows how much we could accomplish.
No.
And how many more wonderful people we could find, because we're no longer limited to our geography. Like, we could find folks. We have members of the Real Solution in Virginia, in Kansas City,
California,
in Houston, in Arizona,
San Antonio,
all across the country. And so if what we're talking about today resonates with you, then reach out to us.
Yeah, and I would also say, those of you that are watching and listening, you know people out there that could benefit from this. If you know someone in the real estate world or even in the business world that this could help them out, do the right thing. Share this with them. Send this to them. Ask them to watch it. This stuff that we're talking about changed my life. I know it changed Miguel's life. You can see right here, or you could see from that picture, it changed Chad's life. We're in the business of changing lives, not just our clients, not just our customers, but we're in the business of changing other real estate agents' lives.
I love that.
Great.
Constant, ongoing, continuous action.
I would even say, like, we're talking about building a team. You got to really, like, figure out why you're doing that.
Yeah.
If it's even something you're looking to do, because not everybody's made to be a real estate agent. Not everybody's made to build a team. And so I know people who just have an assistant, they do phenomenal, lower expenses, and it's, more time sometimes. Right. But, so you just got to really decide if it's something you want to pursue or not.
That's well said. And really the community that we've created, we're not there to make everyone run a team. that's a leadership principle. You cannot, we've already said it once today, you cannot take people where they don't want to go. And so within the community, we have agents and they really enjoy being solo agents. We have agents and their only aspiration is to build a small team. We have other folks in the community and they are incredibly gifted and talented at supporting top producers. Lana Stanley,
Yeah.
Annette Mitchell. I mean, Bernice, there are some really wonderful, wonderful support. It's a team. It's a team and it's a community that you can find your place in. And really that's why you create the vision and the core values is we just want to help people get where they want to go. I'm not there to try to make someone do something that I want them to do.
Right. And it's brand agnostic. You can be a part of this, and nobody is forcing another brokerage down your throat. We've got people all over the country in multiple different brokerages, on teams, not on teams, individual agents. We're all working to grow each other, strengthen each other, and create better businesses. But don't be afraid that you're going to come and be a part of something where we're going to cram some other brokerage at you and force you, or not force you, but try to convince you to join something. We all are a part of a certain brokerage, and there's lots of people that see value in that.
Yeah.
But that's great. If you do, great. If not, you love where you're at. We love that. We want you to be a part of something that is growing agents every day.
Yeah. We're part of an amazing brokerage that gets this, that understands platform. But again, as a leader, I only help people get where they want to go, right?
Exactly.
And so we've had tons of people that wanted to be part of it. We have others that don't, and either one's okay. It's all good.
Okay, well, we're rapidly running out of time. So as we wrap up, Miguel, give us your final thoughts for today.
On what?
Just anything.
Yeah.
Just thoughts on this, and
Man,
just take us away with something powerful.
I would say this podcast is going to be big. I think people need this, and there's a lot of real estate agents. I know you said earlier, Chad, that after COVID, a lot of people went to silos where they're doing their own thing, and some people are just at home. And so this culture that you're building here with the podcast, The Real Solution, is phenomenal. And there's nobody else doing this. Nobody else still in the business doing it, like you guys are. And I'm excited for the future for both of y'all and everybody else who's part of the podcast. And I'm excited for everybody tuning in and subscribing right now because, like I said, it's going to be big.
Okay, we just had Ashley comment. She said, in our first week of the Real Solution community, or in our first week of the Real Solution community, and it has been some of the best info I've heard in 8 years. I've been in real estate. Motivation has been kicked into gear again. Love that, Ashley. Thank you for putting that. That's amazing.
Go, Ashley.
Chad, any final thoughts before we wrap up?
Well, I appreciate Taylor helping us out today.
Go, Taylor.
Let's go.
The power slide into the parking lot.
Just a little bit.
Was the Crowley police officer involved?
I know where they like to hide out, and I just avoid those areas.
Okay. Okay, very good. And then, of course, Jonathan Cook and the amazing Airwave Studios. Jonathan, we appreciate you. And everybody on the chat, we appreciate you guys just interacting with us and giving us more to kind of just have conversations about and find out what's on your minds. And then, Jason, thank you. It's a lot of fun to continue to grow with you. Thank you for your help this morning. Constantly a blessing, constantly help, and also just one of the most amazing agents that I've ever seen operate. So I appreciate you very much. And then Miguel, thank you always. You're always an encouragement. You're one of the most important testimonies within the Real Solution so far. You're growing. You've got a great mindset. You're doing it for the right reasons, and the sky's the limit for you. So,
all right, guys. Well, it is a great day to make it a great day. So go be excellent.